A new housing development for people who are unhoused opens its doors. We'll take you there live.
Housing around USC is unaffordable for some, prompting students to call out the administration.
And Mayor Eric Garcetti gives his advice on handling the homeless crisis as we wait to find out who will be the next mayor of Los Angeles. See It Live starts now.
We have breaking news. New numbers are out in the hotly contested mayoral race between Karen Bass and Rick Caruso. Hi, I'm Avery Goodman.
And I'm Bella Durgan-Johnson. In the last couple of hours, updated numbers from the LA County Clerk's office show that the race is tightening.
As of tonight, with 59% of the votes counted, Rick Caruso leads with 50.25% of the vote, and Congresswoman Karen Bass has 49.75%.
The LA County unhoused population has been on the rise since the pandemic, with 69,144 people currently experiencing homelessness nightly. The city saw a 13% increase in unhoused people from 2019 to 2020.
Updated results are expected from the LA County Clerk's office tomorrow. Nearly 20% of LA County's community college students experience homelessness. A nonprofit that helps house students says not having a place to call home has an impact on a student's academic performance.
I think one thing that's been useful in the field is for professors to put something on their syllabus that says, you know, if you're experiencing housing insecurity or homelessness, there are resources available on campus. It's incredibly hard to do your homework when you don't have a home. What we see our students come into our program with are GPAs that are suffering due to their housing instability.
Homelessness doesn't affect every community in Los Angeles the same way. According to LA County's most recent homelessness count, Latinos now make up 45% of the county's unhoused population. That's a 26% increase since the last homelessness count 2 years ago. One health expert says language plays a role in the rise.
This year, we do see a significant increase compared to previous homeless counts. There are various challenges that the Latino community may experience even when they do want to connect to homeless services. So these include things like barriers around language or cultural access. So for instance, monolingual Spanish speakers might have trouble finding an organization that provides proper translation.
Research shows unhoused people with mental health issues are more likely to become chronically homeless. An expert in the field says there's a number of reasons why. According to the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, currently about 25% of the unhoused population suffers from substance abuse disorders or serious mental health illness. Most researchers agree the connection is a complicated two-way relationship, often leading to chronic homelessness.
If you go to the hospital because you've had, mental illness sometimes requires hospitalizations. And then you come back and the apartment is gone. You've lost your housing because you haven't been there paying the rent. So you end up on the street. Now, if you end up on the street and you have no money, in addition to having a mental illness, there's no way that you can put together the first month's rent and the first month's security deposit to get back into housing. So who stays homeless are the people with mental illness.
A big worry for the unhoused population in Los Angeles is the extreme weather throughout the year. Record-breaking highs have dominated the 21st century at 6 heat waves per year. As for cold weather, 1 in 5 LA County properties are at risk of flooding during the case of a large storm event. On November 8th, LA received 1.56 inches in rainfall, which is the average amount for the month. Climate change continues to accelerate in Los Angeles. City officials say temperatures are projected to increase around 4 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit by the mid-century and 5 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit by the late century. The city plans to allocate funding towards extending sustainable energy programs and clean air initiatives.
The unhoused population has become a priority for both candidates in the LA mayor's race and for many voters. Congresswoman Karen Bass and developer Rick Caruso have different ideas about how to tackle the problem.
Well, first of all, in my plan, I believe that we need to get people off the streets immediately into interim housing. But we have to address why they are unhoused to begin with, because if we don't do that, they'll be right back on the street. I do understand that people are fed up with this and they want folks off the street, but we have to make a commitment to actually solve homelessness, because if we do not, people will be right back out on the street again. Too long we have addressed this problem like we weren't even trying to end it. We were just trying to reduce homelessness, and it keeps expanding. So we have to relax some of the regulations.
But for the grace of God, that's one of my children. How would I want them treated? That's what's fashioned it and the best practices. Here's what we know. You bring them inside, you give them care with dignity and humanity, and then you give them the services they need: psychiatric services, drug addiction services, retraining. They have programs that have a 94% success rate. We know there's a path to success. There hasn't been a strong will to do the right thing. I will do the right thing.
Caruso's policies include increasing the number of tiny houses and converting city-owned property housing. His plans are to build 30,000 short-term units and grow Section 8 housing. Congresswoman Karen Bass's plan includes merging the resources of federal, state, and local governments around a single plan. She wants to build more affordable, permanent housing and provide mental health and substance abuse services, and access to job training to the unhoused.
LA Mayor Eric Garcetti says the next mayor needs to make the unhoused community the #1 priority.
You know, I think people want to turn people into statistics instead of recognizing their stories. And they want to look at the cost of a unit of housing rather than the expense of keeping somebody unhoused. I think the next mayor, that she or he knows this has to be their #1 priority, bar none. It's the #1 priority for all of us.
Mayor Garcetti says the next mayor should be able to open up thousands of new quality shelter units once in office.
You've probably noticed that rent prices have skyrocketed across the country. Some say rent control is a potential solution, but one expert says it does more damage in the long run.
3 different impacts of rent control: depression, possible depression of new construction, which is counterproductive; misallocation of households to dwellings. The little old lady keeps her apartment instead of vacating it. Thirdly, dilapidation of buildings, under maintenance of buildings. Now, the thing is that if you've got a rent controlled apartment that you like, you have no reason to move, it's good. It's good for you. And that's why people tend to support rent control.
Access to affordable housing is a serious issue facing USC students. Dirty Blossoms is a student organization starting a grassroots movement to demand basic rights for students who are facing food and housing insecurities.
As a person who has had to deal with a lot of these things individually, I've found a lack of resources at the university institutionally. So Dirty Blossoms really has tried to create spaces for conversations to happen where those resources can be connected, or outside resources either provided by the county or the state can be offered to students, or we also can help in our own individual capacity to do things, whether that's finding groceries for students, raise funds for them as well, or connect them with housing resources.
USC provides a range of campus housing options, including apartments, suites, and residence halls, but it's not cheap. According to USC, housing living costs at USC range from about $18,000 to $20,000 per year. There's also a housing shortage, so not all students are guaranteed a spot. Organizations like Trojan Shelter and Dirty Blossoms provide resources and housing to USC students experiencing homelessness. But many students say the university needs to do more to help.
When it comes to solving the worsening unhoused crisis, lofty promises by politicians are not likely to be enough. We talked with a professor at the USC Price School of Public Policy who say the mayor's role in the crisis is largely symbolic.
The mayor can set a vision by which both the departments within the city and also the city council can kind of rally around, and then you can iterate around what that vision ought to be. We need to look at the amount of people who are experiencing homelessness as a crisis and not something that we can just kind of slowly address. People are being traumatized every day living on the streets in very precarious situations, and as we know, people are dying on the streets as well. So we can't simply one step at a time address this problem.
Want to know how much rent you can afford to pay? The website Rent Cafe has a cost of living calculator where you can see how much it will cost you to live in the city of your choosing. The U.S. Census says the average person in Los Angeles makes $36,000 per year. If they spend the recommended 30% of their income on rent, that comes to $900 a month. According to Rent Cafe, the average rent in Los Angeles is around $2,700. A brand new housing complex for people who are recently unhoused is now open in Mid-City. Reporter Eric Gay is there live to tell us more.
I'm here at Amani Apartments, which is located on West Pico Boulevard, where earlier today Mayor Eric Garcetti and several other city leaders attended a grand opening ceremony. Now, this apartment was built to help shelter some of LA's unhoused population. Gave $1.2 billion to build housing units to help with LA's unhoused population. Wakeland Housing and Development oversaw the construction of these fully furnished studio apartments. Rebecca Louie and Taylor Holland of Wakeland talk about the significance of the apartment complex.
Story, as always, I think that could be me, that could be someone in my family, that could be any number one of people that I know, and I'm so glad we got him in. He and his fiancée are inside now. That's what matters. That's what supportive housing does. It stabilizes the lives of the people who live here. It gives them hope for the future. He's studying to be an accountant now.
When you see people, even 4 days ago, where they were on the streets, now they have a place to shower and rest. They are completely different people. They're stabilized. They're ready to sort of tell their story. So it's been a really amazing experience. Yeah.
Amani provides 53 permanent affordable housing for seniors who used to be unhoused. Now, this is a step in the right direction to help LA's unhoused population, which was the #1 concern amongst voters in this past election. And it could not have come at a better time, especially with the sun going down lower and earlier. It is now getting colder. It is now a place finally for people to stay. For Annenberg Media, I'm Eric Ye. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for watching See It Live. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Avery Goodman.
And I'm Bella Durkin-Johnson. For more coverage, watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Annenberg Media. Good night.